After days of waiting for some news about Nintendo in 2020, we were ready to get our nice and juicy Nintendo Direct, and it was a mini. Damn it! Well, at least we got a reveal for a new Smash character, and it was ARMS. Damn it! It wasn't even a full reveal. They just told us that, hey, there's gonna be an ARMS fighter coming soon. The only information that we got about the fighter is that it will have the signature extendable arms of the game. Another monkey wrench in this reveal was that almost 2 years ago, Springman, the mascot of the damn game, was revealed as an assist trophy. At that time, people took that as the final nail in the coffin to ARMS fans. Assist trophies are a way to represent fighters who either aren't important enough to be included or can't have a good enough moveset that would reference the character. But then they added Byleth. Why couldn't we have seen this before? It was so obvious! If I were to pick an ARMS representative, I'd just pick Springman. They could just remove the assist trophy or make it so when Springman is in the match, the assist trophy won't appear. It's not like anybody would care. People who like the Springman assist trophy would be more happy to see him in the game. Except if they like the assist trophy specifically, I'm sorry. However, if they were to eliminate assist trophies, Mii costumes, and spirits, I'd pick Max Brass. Anybody who's fully completed the Grand Prix in ARMS knows who Max Brass is, the final boss. Plus, he'd be pretty fun to fight, and Headlock as a final smash would be sick. But I'm not here to talk about an ARMS fighter. What I'm here to talk about is the idea/concept of a sequel to the game that fixes the main problem that made the game not the best when compared to a new IP that was made under similar working conditions, Splatoon. I think that Splatoon is a much better game, but its sequel is better than itself. So can ARMS 2 be better than the original, like classics of the examples such as Splatoon 2 and Shrek 2? Will it be just as okay as the original? In my findings, I realized that ARMS has broken gameplay, particularly because of the fact that defining features will have to be sacrificed in order to fix it. But first, let's talk about the good stuff we're actually keeping. The music is obvious. It's defining. It reminds me of the music that plays in Pokemon Sword and Shield when the opponent in the gym Dynamaxes. It's filled with cheering that makes you really excited to fight. Plus, they all use the same melody, which is a really cool callback to games like Super Mario World that do the same. The characters are also very unique in their design, but only 10 at launch. Sure, they added 5 later, but one of them was already in the game. One was a clone that didn't add any new arms, and by the time they came out, ARMS was dead. There should have been 15 characters at launch of the game. So in this game, we're going to add 5 more to get to 20. I'm thinking of floors for Vine arms and Squid Captain with tentacle arms. I really want an astronaut, but the only arms I can think for him are alien tentacles, which Squid Captain has already. There can even be a toilet fighter that uses paper as his arms. I did say that there were too few characters, but I think 20 is a fair size since ARMS isn't about the character roster, it's about the... We'll get to the sad realization later, but for now, 20 is a fair number for a character roster. I don't think it would be a good idea to expand this game with free updates, but I don't think we have enough ideas for more characters. But we still could. So that's all the stuff we're keeping. It's definitely a lot. A lot of the stuff in ARMS is pretty great. Except the gameplay. A lot of people criticize ARMS' gameplay, saying it's too underwhelming, and you know what? They're right, the gameplay is boring! Yes, it's fun, but it's only fun for the first 3 days. Because of the new Smash character, I picked up the 10-day free trial because I currently don't have the game with me, and I didn't want to pay $60 for a 2-year-old game. Speaking of, lower the damn price! And after 3 days of playing a game that was fresh and new to me after 2 years, I stopped playing. Because I was bored. I kept losing, and I was not motivated to keep playing. The reason why you want to keep playing Splatoon is because it was a team effort. The reason why you want to keep playing Smash Ultimate is because there are new strategies and combos you can pull out for your main. Heck, you can get a new main if it wasn't working out for you. ARMS doesn't have that, because ARMS is designed around one thing, the Joy-Cons. I want you to look up ARMS trailers, and what's the one thing in common with all of them? The players all use Joy-Cons. This explains everything. The reason why the camera is so terribly angled, it's because of the Joy-Cons. The reason there aren't any combos is because of the Joy-Cons. ARMS was meant to show how well the Switch can base its movements using the Joy-Cons to mimic how actual ARMS works. That is all ARMS is. Another game that was based off Joy-Cons was Super Mario Odyssey. We have some movement options locked behind motion controls. A lot of people don't like them, and I think they're poorly integrated and annoying to use in and outside of handheld mode. But it wasn't the focus of the game. Mario Odyssey was meant to be a Mario game, but the motion controls were added just to add a little extra flair. An experiment with how motion controls could work on a 3D Mario game. Personally, they didn't bother me as much, and I was usually prepared to use them. However, I tried using Odyssey with Joy-Cons off the Switch and immediately put them back because Joy-Cons off the Switch is miserable. And even though I said a lot of people didn't like the motion controls, I wasn't bothered with them at all. Plus, that doesn't make the motion controls any better. On the other hand, ARMS is a game designed entirely around motion controls. ARMS wasn't a game, it was an experiment. That's probably why the game is so short and lacks content. And now we have more polished and larger games like Ring Fit Adventure. Reminds me of games that released at a certain time on a certain console that was failing. Yes, the Wii U. Am I saying that ARMS was meant to be on the Wii U until it failed? No, the control of ARMS were clearly meant for the Switch, or at least a device similar to Joy-Cons. Though, this is something to say about a lot of the games that were released early in the Switch's life. They use a lot of assets or lacked content. The prime example is Splatoon, which didn't add or change much, but is better than the original. Zelda Breath of the Wild isn't like this, but that was planned for Wii U. It even released on it, and Mario Odyssey wasn't like this. Odyssey's main campaign can be beaten in a couple hours, and some of the moons are lazily hidden. Some captures are reused, some audio and moon missions, but my theory is that the Wii U was supposed to last an extra year or two, and Mario Odyssey was supposed to release on it. But luckily, the engine wasn't prepared, leading it to release a couple of months after the Switch's launch. There were even some extra content planned for it in Delfino Plaza from Super Mario Sunshine, but it was cut due to time constraints. But back to ARMS. ARMS had lore. ARMS had a lot of lore. Another similarity to Splatoon. There's a section in the main menu called the Gallery, where you can unlock cool pictures by doing certain tasks. There are 10 pictures labeled ARMS Labs Confidential, and they tell us an interesting story. Apparently, there are two organizations, the ARMS League, which is responsible for the Grand Prix and fighters, and ARMS Labs, which is responsible for the research on the fighters. Both are held under the entire ARMS organization. According to the first set of applicants, who were Springman, Ribbon World, and Darla Master Mummy, and Min Min, according to their logs, they had no idea how they got their arms. We later learned that ARMS Leagues was created to test out fighters in battle to see how they could be used as weapons of war. We also learned why everyone wears masks. It says that without the masks, the fighters can't control their arms. Eventually, the ARMS Leagues becomes a very popular sport. Eventually, anybody could get into the league who had stretchy arms, but not the arms ability. Eventually, ARMS Lab head scientist Dr. Coyle developed her own set of arms, and a device called Headlock. Headlock got loose and attacked the commissioner of the ARMS League, Nancy Grass. What do we think the students get out of this? What if Dr. Coyle released it to attack Max Grass? If you play the Grand Prix at the higher levels, instead of fighting Max Grass, Dr. Coyle comes in and knocks Max Grass off the stage. And after you beat her, she calls Headlock. And you have to fight her again with Headlock, like with Max Grass. Coincidence? I think not! So after Headlock flew away after he lost a Grand Prix, he started taking control of other people who don't have arms. And then they became mind-controlled and hide out in society. And then Headlock moved on to another person, until eventually he mind-controls Dr. Coyle, gaining access to ARMS Labs, and uses some dumb technology. Now everybody that wears one of those masks that makes their arms work is now mind-controlled, and are now attacking the cities. But there's one guy or robot who isn't mind-controlled. Bark. You know, the dog who partners with Bite? He rips Springman's mask off so he's not mind-controlled, but because of that, Springman has to learn his arms himself, which comes with this leveling up system where you unlock abilities and stuff. Bark acts as your Fee, or your Navi, You have to fight through 20 worlds based off each fighter's stage, except for Springtron, because who cares about Springtron? Each world will act like a side-scrolling platforming level, with enemies based off each area. In the final level of every world, you'll fight the fighter based off the world and then unlock that fighter. Each world would have levels revolve around the gimmicks and the stages that they're based off, or the abilities that you required from leveling up. It would use the classic 4-step Mario formula for new mechanics simply because it works so well, and having such a new idea would need some supporting and simple concepts. I'm worried that the levels would run out of gimmicks for some of the stages, but obviously they're only one, so maybe they can make some ideas. The 19th world will be against Dr. Coil, and then the 20th will be some sort of boss rush, with the final level being a big fight against Headlock. So let's get some questions out of the way. The boss for Springman's section would be Springtron, and he'd act as a reoccurring mini-boss. And for Bite's fight, he'd just use a version of Bark called Barktron, like Springtron, but Bark. And that's my pitch for a story. Not a lot else to say. The biggest takeaway from this is the change in design. But there's even another twist in this story. ARMS started with a simple question of what if in a fighting game the camera was behind the fighter. The issue with that was that you wouldn't be able to tell if your attacks would land. One thing that you might be saying is that Punch-Out already did it, but first off, Punch-Out isn't a fighting game. A fighting game is a multiplayer-based and character-dependent. Punch-Out is more like an arcade game. It's reaction-based and isn't designed for 2 players anyway. Sorry for this mini-rant, back to the actual script. So, to combat this, Mr. Yabuki, producer of ARMS, gave them disc joints. ARMS wasn't centered around the arms. It wasn't even centered around the damn Joy-Cons. It was centered around the damn camera. And seeing how poorly this worked, it would seem like an excuse for the existence of ARMS to be used as a defense for the camera and Joy-Cons. I still think ARMS 2 could be a unique fighting game that uses signature destroying arms, but somehow balancing them. Each fighter's gimmicks were being made more extreme to make them more unique. And that's how we're creating the new and improved ARMS 2. I've been predicting that at E3 we'll get the reveal of the new Smash fighter and ARMS 2. It's been a good 3 years, and if they can make an Assassin's Creed game come out every year, anything is possible. If there's an ARMS sequel, I hope it doesn't go in the direction of Splatoon 2 where it doesn't fix any of the complaints people had with the game. But then again, anything's possible with sequels. On one hand, Mario Party 9 exists, on the other, Nintendo accidentally made Majora's Mask, years after the greatest game of all time, at the same level of the everything their first game had. But then again, Nintendo is the exact opposite of what is expected. Of course they don't have any plans for 2020, because Say It With Me Big Puppets is a hefty time between reveal and release. And I have to stop before I mention the Yokai Watch. Damn it!